This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
Hey everyone, this is Austin.
What's going on, guys? This is John.
And you're listening to the Voice of the Fan Sports Podcast. All right, John, we're back. Don't even ask me what episode.
It's been that kind of 2019.
Yeah, I've probably missed more episodes than been on episodes.
It's actually kind of funny while we're doing this Michigan State show because I named it. You didn't get to see the photo of the prompt I sent you, but as you know, with the prompts I sent, I always have like the title, whatever, season 2, episode, whatever. So today it says Voice of the Fan Podcast, season 2, episode IDK. So
yeah,
we are both confused on episode numbers. Connor knows, our producer knows. So when I upload it on Friday, we will know.
It's his job, though. So
yeah, exactly. He's got to do something for us.
He should know these things. But yeah, it's been a little bit since I've been on, so I'm sorry about that. We had Chris on last week with John talking MSU and just college football in general. And I started doing a little, dabbling in some betting.
Yeah,
I college football.
I don't know if like the whole pick'em against the spread thing got you dabbling, but you've been telling me about some of your bets, man. I've been loving it.
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago did really well. 2 for 4 on parlays.
Nice.
If I would have picked just individually, and I can't say that I do it by myself. I do listen.
Dude, if people say they do it by themselves, they're lying. Everybody looks at articles, podcasts. I mean, there's too much out there not to have help with it.
Yeah, so had some help. If I would have done individual bets, I would have gone 8-2, but I put them into parlays, and then I grouped them together on parlays that I felt,
parlays are super fun, though.
Really good. Yeah, I felt really good about, a certain group, okay, and then just kind of down the line, and then one of them was just one game, which it hit. So that was awesome. The following week, you had a little bit of that extra money and lost like all of it. I don't think I won a single one. It was just all tough.
I kind of just set like money aside that I can use to like bet on for the year, and I kind of just recycle it. I just have fun doing it, picking games. And
oh yeah, so the money that I use. Couple of years ago, I was doing DraftKings, just fantasy football. I got up to like $150.
Nice.
So it's just like small ball stuff. And then they were worried about it getting shut down, so I stopped. And now that it's legal in Indiana to do sports betting, I'm like, okay, it's back. And I've just been using that, and then any extra money I win on Sundays from fantasy football.
Yeah, I guess I probably shouldn't be talking about gambling in sports since I am in Michigan. It is illegal. But I'm gonna head out. I'll talk to you later, Austin.
There you go. Well, I got to do it, and it's fun. So
we're kind of doing things backwards here. We're going to start with Michigan State, just because everything's fresh in my mind with how frustrating everything is Michigan State right now, basketball, football. The offensive staff still has a job. So I guess we'll just start with recapping the season that was extremely disappointing. Me and Austin Austin definitely had lofty expectations of this team.
Yes.
Winning the Big Ten, that's not happening. I had them going 9-3, which I thought was fair, losing to Michigan, Ohio State, and Wisconsin, which they lost to all 3 of those teams, but they also lost to Illinois. That was fun. Arizona State and God, who else did this? It was hard to keep track nowadays. Jesus. Oh, Penn State. But it was just the same as last year, same story, except this year I think the defense gave up, especially when Joe Bocci got suspended.
Yeah.
I think they lost their leader. The offense couldn't score. They just did not play the same that they've played in years past, and it just turned into a whole shit show, to be honest. I mean, Jesus, beating Maryland 19-16 at home on senior day is just embarrassing.
Yeah, it's tough.
you go out there, and I get it senior day. I get Brian Lewerke's been your guy, but I mean, and I feel bad for Lewerke. I feel bad for Brian because I think this coaching staff really did him a disservice in his development. I think he had a lot of potential, which we've talked about last year, and people have talked about when he was a sophomore. And I just think this coaching staff just flat out did a garbage job in developing him. They didn't build their offense around their quarterback and their weapons, and essentially failed him, failed the team, and failed the fan base. So Lewerke's done. We'll see who plays next. We'll actually talk about that in a little bit here. But that's the first thing I think that was the number one thing that was disappointing to me this year was Brian Lewerke after a really good start that he had. Number two in general is just the offensive production, because I can't believe I bought into the crap of reshuffling the offensive staff and actually buying into the hope that they were selling us all season that it was going to be a different offense. It looks like when you're watching Michigan State, and Austin, I'm not sure how much you watched of Michigan State this year. I hope for your sake, not a lot. But it wasn't necessarily the same concepts as last year, but I almost feel like watching these players run whatever they're running, either they don't know what they're running or they're playing it so lazy because they know it's horrible.
And tough to say that last one, but
I'm exaggerating. I'm not, you know what I mean? I don't think they're purposely,
like I get, yeah. I'd say it's more installing new stuff is always tough. It's always the hardest one. So I think that's where confusion can come in. It can take some time to install offenses if you don't have the right personnel and you try and make a switch. So, I don't know if I would go as far as saying that this team kind of quit because they knew the offense wasn't going to work.
And I'm glad you did say that, and kind of, because I will backstep that, because if you've seen how excited this team was after they beat Maryland, dancing on the field, they're excited, they're going bowling. I guess saying they quit on the season's unfair because they were clearly still playing. It's just frustrating for me, I guess. It's almost like you're watching like a team just like going through too many motions on offense, like almost double thinking themselves. Like you said, which is installing a new offense, but at the same time, like I just feel like it wasn't that new. The only bright spot was a surprise, to be honest. Elijah Collins, redshirt freshman running back, made All Big Ten third team, I'm pretty sure. And he was really exciting. He's super elusive. He's got some speed to him. He seems like he's going to be this team's all-around back for the next 3 seasons. The one thing I really wish we handled differently was we decided not to redshirt Brandon Wright, so now we have 3 sophomore running backs, which makes 0 sense. But other than that, I think the running back group as a whole was a lot more impressive this year. Love the kid, but Connor Hayward was just not a good running back. Once he decided to transfer, he just obviously didn't have the option of playing him anymore, so everybody kind of just got thrown into the wolves. Elijah Collins just took off. Anthony Williams showed some flashes. Brandon Wright is going to be a bowling ball power type back. So we'll see where that goes. The wide receiver group is still going to be talented next year as long as Jalen Naylor can stay healthy. You got Cody White, I would assume, coming back as your number 1 receiver. And then Julian Barnett has looked good in making the switch from defensive back to wide receiver. He's super explosive. And then you have that freshman All-American from Western Michigan who transferred. I forgot what his name is. I think his last name is Reed, who's a stud. So we'll see how he fits in there. But there's hope there. Defensively, you replace a lot. I'm just going to list off these names to you, Austin. And Kenny Willekes, gone. Mike Panashuk, gone. Raequan Williams, gone. Joe Bocci, gone. David Dowell, gone. Tyreek Thompson, gone. Josh Butler, gone. So that's 8 starters I think I just named.
It's not good.
No, especially when the recruiting classes haven't been great. So Excuse me. So you're looking at essentially 3 new faces on the D line. You'll have Jacob Panashuk coming back at the DN spot. You'll have the other Quan and Naquan Jones. Jacob Slade will probably slide into the other D tackle spot, and then I no clue who takes the D end. Maybe Drew Beasley. There's not a guy who I'm super excited about. Maybe one of the freshmen from this year. But we'll go into more of a team breakdown later. But it's just what a disappointing year it was when you had all that talent on defense coming back and a lot of hope this year. And essentially, I'm never really going to blame the players, because at the end of the day, they're 18 to 22-year-old kids out there just playing a sport they love, and 99.9% of them are trying their hardest out there. The coaching staff failed this team this year, and it seems like D'Antonio's coming back, which is whatever. I mean, love D'Antonio. I hope they build a statue for him, but I personally think it's time for a change in culture-wise, but I just pray to God, Austin, we don't bring this offensive staff back.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there has to be some sort of change. It's not like Michigan State football alumni and the board of trustees and all of those guys are, when you have okay with this.
When you have former players like publicly criticizing them on Twitter, it's starting to get ugly, I would say. So hopefully they make some changes. D'Antonio is still heavily into the recruiting right now, so I think it's clear he'll be back.
I think that's a good thing. Honestly. Yeah, I think he's had his faults, certainly with not really doing enough this season to change the staff around and especially in dealing with the offense. But that's the guy that took Michigan State to the Rose Bowl and took him to the playoff, and
he is Michigan State football.
He's that kind of guy that you would have the confidence to turn the ship around, so to speak, because this is kind of where Michigan State was before he got here. Yep. And this is what he was doing before he turned it all around and made Michigan State into a powerhouse, more or less in the Big Ten. They were up there and they were competing, and it wasn't a guaranteed win, so to speak. But now I kind of fallen back into the basement a little bit for Michigan State standards, and I think it's just going to come down to, I think defensively, I think you're able to keep that coaching staff because you just look at the guys that were the stars on the roster, and they weren't exactly the stars on the recruiting side. Correct. Kenny Willekes was a walk-on. Joe Bocci was like, what, a 2-3 star guy?
He was a 3-star, like kind of like middle of the pack recruiting class. In the recruiting
3-star guy. Yep. So, I mean, like, the fact that those guys are going to make the jump to the NFL, I agree. I heard something about Urban Meyer, and he was talking about Texas and what's going on with Texas, because they pull in like top 10 recruiting classes every year, but they kind of stink. And he broke it down. Like, if you look at Alabama and Ohio State that have similar classes, and who's putting people into the NFL, that's the ultimate litmus test, right? I mean, you're coaching these kids. For the most part, a lot of them want to play at the next level. They go to these big programs because they want to make that jump. And, it was like 49 for Bama, 43 for Ohio State, and 13 for Texas. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when I think about the Michigan State staff and I say, okay, defensively, you're turning these guys. Obviously, it's a two-way street, but the coaching has got to be there. And Michigan State was able to have good defense for the most part to what they could do. For whatever year, however many years, and really doing it without, super studs that these other big programs are taking. So defensively, I think, it's going to be a drop off from last year, from the next year, but I think you're okay there. At least in my mind, you're able to develop well enough because you're putting talent into the NFL. But offensively, what are you doing? You don't know.
And I think that's where D'Antonio kind of has to step back, because he is a defensive coach, and I think he has to go. This program as a whole, Michigan State makes enough money as a school, as a program to. I mean, Draymond Green donated a whole weight room and training facility to the team like for football and basketball. So it's like, or not, I'm sorry, not to football, but to basketball. So you have these, these guys who donate to programs, and there's money there. You have to go out and spend money on not necessarily a big time OC, because I don't think Michigan State is that glamorous of a job for an OC, but try to get like an up and coming guy somewhere that people are talking about. Try to go out and get somebody and pay somebody a little more than other program would. You got to get somebody here. There's got to be a new offensive staff in here, and you got to get somebody calling the plays and letting him bring his scheme in, which I think is honestly perfect timing, because you're going to be bringing in a different quarterback, which, like I said, we'll talk about soon. Which for that reason, I hope it's not Rocky Lombardi, since he will be a junior, but we'll get into that in a second here. But real quick before, because we're going to, as we did last year, we will break down the recruiting class like player by player, but I think a huge fallout of this program was the 2016 class that had that scandal with those 3 players in a sexual assault. So you lost those 3 guys. Montez Sweat, I believe, might have been part of that class when he transferred. And then there's other guys who left the program. I think there was like 2 or 3 guys left of that class. So, which was one of D'Antonio's best classes ever. So that really leads you to having a lack of depth of upperclassmen at this point of the program. So I think that was a huge effect on this team this year. But if you look at this year, they have a lot of low-key guys. Jordan Simmons, who's a running back, he ran a official 4.53 40 in high school, which is pretty good, I think. He's pretty shifty. You got a guy like Darius Snow, who's your best recruit. 4-star guy out of Texas. Wow, actually, that's new. He was a safety. Now he's listed as an outside linebacker.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah, he's 6'2", 215, so we'll see but regardless, he's a top 330 player in the country. You get a kid out of Texas who had offers from Texas and Alabama. And you see, like me and Austin have talked about in the past, you got to look up their offer list. And you see Alabama on this list, you see Clemson on this list, Florida State, Georgia, Michigan, LSU. This kid could go anywhere, and he chose Michigan State. So, given his dad was a basketball player here, but we're not going to talk about that. Maybe he just wanted to come here. But he's constantly in public talking about, he doesn't believe in decommitting. He believes in the program. He believes in Coach D'Antonio, blah, blah, blah. You got a guy like Angelo Gross, who is a highly touted 4-star, according to 24/7, but 694 on the composite, who's undersized, but really physical, an ideal Michigan State corner. So I think next year is going to be rough again, but I think you're starting to see, if D'Antonio does stick around, I think you might have a foundation of guys again. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, if we don't get rid of this offensive staff, it's going to be just as bad, if not worse, and the fans are going to be just as frustrated. But real quick, before we talk about this recruit, I want to talk about, just off rip, Austin, you got 3 guys: Rocky Lombardi, Theo Day, or Peyton Thorne. Who is QB1 at the start of next season?
I don't think at this point you can say outright, yeah, this is going to be.
No, I know. I'm
guy,
just talking point. Like, this gut feeling out of your mind, who would Austin Stoll start at MSU?
I'd probably give one of the younger guys a chance. They're more gunslingers, and I think you had some high hopes for Rocky Lombardi, and he had an opportunity to kind of take over a little bit and show his stuff and say, hey, I can be the guy. And I don't think we saw that.
Agreed.
And, obviously the offense didn't do him any favors, but when you miss open guys and he missed some throws that you have to make at this level against teams that are, better than you at that point. I think, seeing that it's okay. We got to go back to the drawing board here. And I just think, Purdue, obviously watch Purdue a lot. Aiden O'Connell is a sophomore walk-on. And right now let's probably give this kid a scholarship. And is he your starter next year? Because he came in and he had the same things that all the starters had. And he did really well for a walk-on sophomore. So he started against Wisconsin and kept it pretty close. Obviously, the IU double overtime loss, he threw for 400 yards. So, I mean, it's that kind of guy. You have the same kind of things that you had some success with a starter, and you're able to replicate it to a certain level. And I don't think you got that at Michigan State. Again, I don't think it's all on him, Lombardi, but at the same time, you have the opportunity and you don't capitalize. So, I would say it's probably a quarterback battle going into it, but really,
100%.
I would look to the young guys and, whoever's got the most confidence, man. I think that's been one of the biggest things that's lacking. You got to be able to push the ball down the field, alleviate if you want to run the ball. And obviously it's a hand-in-hand thing. The run opens the pass, but if a team knows you can't throw it deep, and you're trying to establish the run, you're just going to get run into a stacked box, and they're going to press you and say, okay, beat us. But if you can consistently make the aggressive throw and give your guy a chance, I mean, that's the biggest thing. Just give your receiver a chance. You got some guys that can make some plays in East Lansing. Give them a chance.
Yep.
Give them a 50-50 ball. And you know what? If it doesn't always go your way, that's okay. But at least you're giving yourself a chance.
I think you want to take the OC job in East Lansing, Austin?
Not if you want to have watchable football.
All right, fair enough. Real quick, just a quick comment on this. I agree with Austin. I want it to be either Theo Day or Peyton Thorne. Personally, I think it's Theo Day. He's 6'5". He was the only player to be able to move the ball against Penn State in a monsoon. He got pulled out for audibling, which is kind of annoying because they got a first down, but whatever.
And that's the thing you can't do. I mean, if your quarterback is identifying something and he audibles,
right?
Yeah, I mean, just let him do it, especially at that point in the season. You're
losing by 21 in a monsoon in the fourth quarter. Like, who cares?
You're not, the season's not on the line at that point. And if you have a guy that can identify something, let's see what happens. I mean, you might as well. And if it doesn't work out, he comes back to the sideline. You say, hey, I see what you were doing there. We got to look there. I like that you're trying to do something, but don't try to do too much at this point.
Right.
Let's work together on this kind of a thing. I don't know. Maybe the coaching staff isn't, it's going to be a different one. That's the hope, right? So if you have someone that can do that kind of thing and is at least making an effort to identify, that's when you can say, okay, let's really watch some film together and let's watch these looks together. And, let's have some checks and some audibles. And, I don't want you to do it outright all the time, but as we progress, if it starts, working, everything's coming together, it's all about trust especially the quarterback position. So again, absolutely love to see that, but you got to have that trust. Are you trying to, and you don't, it's towing the line of trust and doing too much. Because if you do too much as quarterback, do too much as an offense, you press, you make mistakes, and you dig yourself a hole that, you might not have to be in if you're not trying to press and chase. So obviously it's a complicated, convoluted thing, but I think it might be interesting to see what kind of transpires there.
It'll be interesting too. And before I wrap this up, because MSU hasn't really had a true quarterback battle in a while. Like when Connor Cook left, it was kind of clear they were going to go towards Tyler O'Connor, which was annoying and ugly. But as soon as Tyler O'Connor left and graduated, him and Damian Terry were gone, it was handed to Lewerke. We all knew Connor Cook was going to be the starter after Andrew Maxwell. Stuff like that. So you're going to legitimately have a 3-man battle. And I have a weird gut feeling that Austin's boy Peyton Thorne might be the QB1 next year. Just from what I've read, the kid has a gunslinger mentality, pretty confident. He can get the ball downfield. I mean, if you read Austin's scouting report, his first one. So I really hope I see Theo Day or Peyton Thorne. I have good feelings about both. I love Rocky. I love his competitiveness. I just don't see him being a quality Power 5 starter. Which, and if he wants to, and if he ends up transferring, going someplace, I wish him the best of luck. But I just don't see him being the success that Michigan State needs. Real quick note, though, that me giving a shout out to Austin that he deserves a scouting job somewhere is two of the offensive line not named Devontae Dobbs, Nick Samick and I always forget this other kid's name, but two true freshmen started at guard and center, and the other guard at times. They were phenomenal at true freshman, and Austin called out that he loved Michigan State's offensive line class this year, and he said it multiple times. So he's proven to be right, it looks like, so far. So shout out to you, my friend.
Thank you. And I mean, it's fun to watch when you're looking at guys like that. And, that's probably one of the biggest learning curves. But like I said, it's all about footwork and the technique within that. And so if you see good feet, good weight balance, that kind of stuff.
And the good news is those two burned their red shirt, but Devontae Dobbs was hurt the last week of the season, who was the highest touted offensive lineman that we had. So if we don't play him in the bowl game, he will retain his red shirt. So he will be a redshirt freshman next year and still have 4 years of eligibility. But real quick, just a comment on a very, very, very highly touted recruit in Justin Rogers. Was formerly a 5-star offensive guard prospect, committed to Kentucky. He is now listed as a defensive tackle. He is the 41st ranked player in the whole country. Rumors are that he might flip from Kentucky to Michigan State. Kind of thought it was more of rumors and not going to happen, but he visited last night, and he is now the 24/7 list has turned to warm for Michigan State. Kentucky has now had an in-home visit and offered a 4-star D tackle today. So it might be happening. I would still put it at like a 40% chance, but like there are some legitimate signs pointing to this happening. So keep your eyes on that. If anything happens, we'll obviously keep you updated. But man, if we can land a top 50 player after this disaster of a season, it'd be probably one of D'Antonio's biggest recruiting wins, because we need a D tackle and he wants to play right away. His parents want him close to home. So what's better than Michigan State? Real quick, Austin, don't want to spend too much time on this because we'll get a deep dive into the playoffs next week after the conference championship games. Just give me your 4 teams you have right now prior to the conference championships that are going to be in the playoff.
LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Utah.
In that order?
Yes.
Okay. I completely agree. I think LSU beats Georgia, which knocks them out of the playoff, and I think Utah gets in, which is well-deserved in my opinion. Which would really be freaky is if Utah beats or Oregon beats Utah. That'd really spice things up for the 4th ranked. But
well, I think if that happens, then it's the winner of the Big 12 championship.
Oh yeah, Oklahoma Baylor. Correct.
So
correct.
That not too spicy.
I didn't think too far into that.
It just depends. It's just one of those things. If Baylor wins, or if Oklahoma wins and Utah wins, then
right. Yep.
Because you probably make the argument of if Baylor beats Oklahoma, then maybe Utah gets the nod, but Oklahoma's been up there, Utah the same. Then it's kind of like
if Utah wins, I really think they deserve a shot at it. But we'll get into that more. They just have a really nasty defense. I agree. I think it's Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, and then Utah, which I think Utah's defense matches up the best out of all 3 teams in the playoffs against Ohio State. Not that anyone can stop that offense, but I just think the speed they have on defense in that front 4 can give them trouble, especially J.K. Dobbins. But we'll see. Time for the fun part of the show. Normally do a pick'em anytime Austin's on, but he's been busy with stuff, so we haven't been able to do a pick'em in a while. So I've lost track of the record, but we are going to real quick run through each conference championship game, which will be fun when we get to the unknown conferences. But we'll go through them, and we'll start with what's the first one? Pac-12. According to the list I have here, which is Oregon versus Utah. Utah's -6.5. Austin, who do you got?
Give me Utah, and they'll cover. They'll cover that.
All right. I think it's going to be a close game, so I'm going to take Oregon to lose, but I think Oregon. I don't think Utah covers. The next. Oh, this is fun. The MAC. Miami of Ohio versus Central Michigan. Central Michigan giving Miami of Ohio 7 points. To be honest with you, I am clueless here. The only thing I do know is that Central Michigan's head coach is Jim McElwain.
Let's see. We'll do. So we'll go with Central Michigan, and but they don't cover Miami.
So you're taking Miami.
Maction.
You're taking Miami of Ohio.
Maction. Yeah, Miami of Ohio will cover the Maction. It's going to get crazy. It's going to be close. Typical Maction. It's not going to be a 7-point game.
Fire up chips, baby. I think they cover. This is essentially a home game for them. So I think because they play at Ford Field. So I guess Ohio's not that far, but so that kind of ruins that for me. But whatever. We're going with Central Michigan anyways. Another fun one. Sun Belt.
Oh boy.
Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It says at, so I'm assuming they don't have a neutral site, are going to Appalachian State.
Oh boy.
Which they have been really fun to watch this year, and Appalachian State is favored by 6.5 points. And according to this, just real quick, this line has gone all over the place since opening at App State, -7. It dropped to 3.5 in 10 minutes on Sunday morning before slowly moving back up to 6.5. It is a rematch of a Wednesday night game in October where Appalachian State topped Louisiana 17-7. So, yeah,
I'll take Appalachian State.
I'm with you on that. I like them a lot. Watched a few games this year. I have not watched one Louisiana game, so we'll go with what I know. God, I should be really risky and play all these games. The Big 12, the Big 12 game. Baylor versus Oklahoma -8.5.
Ooh, definitely not taking that.
I think we're both going to agree that we take Baylor and the points.
Yes.
I don't think. I mean, last game Baylor was up 28-3 and blew the lead. So I think Baylor can keep up with Oklahoma. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, if we're going non-money line and just doing.
We're picking against the spread. Yeah, who covers?
Oh yeah, definitely Baylor. Baylor's going to cover. Yeah, to your point, the last game was super close, and if you look at all of Oklahoma's recent games, minus Oklahoma State, they have not covered. It's all come down to the other team covering. So I think that continues.
All right, so we've agreed in the last two. The Conference USA, University of Alabama, Birmingham, UAB. I've actually seen them play before. They came to Michigan State in 2007. I was there.
Oh. All right.
So put a siren in there for me or something, Connor. They go to Florida Atlantic. So Lane Kiffin's team. They are giving UAB 7 points. I guess just to give you a little knowledge, here's what they have on it. The line opened Florida Atlantic -6.5, moved to 7.5, and is now -7. Will UAB head coach Bill Clark or Florida Atlantic head coach Lane Kiffin be distracted by interest from some of the Power 5 schools that have a coaching vacancy? So it sounds like both coaches are getting interest from Power 5 schools. Lane Kiffin to Michigan State? Just kidding. Please go. I guess that wouldn't be bad, would it? Recruiting would probably go up.
And I mean, he's pretty good offensively. So
that would definitely change the... D'Antoni, why don't you just step down to DC, homie? Let Lane Kiffin come in.
Sure.
I'll take Florida Atlantic just because I know Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I agree. He knows how to do offense. So
the AAC, I do know. So we're gonna watch Cincinnati and Memphis play again after they just played last week. Was a pretty
Memphis, and they cover. Memphis is really, really good.
Even before I tell you what the spread is.
Yes. Well, actually, okay. Tell me.
-9.5.
Yeah, I'm taking Memphis.
Okay. All right. Oof. This is tough. It's tough to beat a team 2 times in a year in any sport, let alone back-to-back weeks. But I think Memphis is really good, like Austin said. So I think Cincinnati keeps it close, but I think Memphis pulls away late. SEC, Georgia versus LSU. LSU giving Georgia 7.5. I'm all on that LSU hype train. I think LSU wins by 10 points.
Oh, man, I think LSU crushes Georgia.
All right, perfect.
The Georgia offense is terrible.
Yep.
I can't even believe they put up that many points against Georgia Tech. So their offense is just not good. And then LSU's defense found themselves against A&M. I thought A&M was going to cover. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, they crushed A&M.
Yep.
And thinking of that, A&M covered against Georgia. It was 19-13.
Yep.
So
I am with you on that. I was thinking 10 points was generous, but I was like, yeah, it's conference championship. Then also went way out of norm and just they're gonna crush Georgia. So, we'll say the Big Ten for last because that's generally what we cover. So we'll do Virginia versus Clemson. Clemson minus 29.
Oh my gosh. I think Virginia covers, but it's not going to be. I mean,
I can see
Clemson. Virginia can cover and still lose by 28.
Yeah,
so.
I think they lose by like 24 or something like that. But I think 29 is a little ridiculous in a conference championship game.
I think Clemson's hit their stride, so they're
man,
who they are, who we thought they were.
Did I really want to see Minnesota, Ohio State, man? I really wanted my sleeper to get there since my Purdue prediction completely fell through the cracks there. Went from predicting them to make the Big Ten title, and they're not even going bowling. So my bad, Boiler Nation.
Yeah.
You guys were just riddled with injuries and a lot of other stuff. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Wisconsin versus Ohio State. Ohio State's obviously pretty good. I think they're all right. They are favored by 16 versus the Badgers. Ohio State rolled Wisconsin 38-7 earlier this year in Columbus, which was a 14.5 point spread. Wisconsin played really well against Minnesota on the road. Ohio State played extremely well against Michigan on the road. So, two teams coming off of big road wins. Austin, what do you got here, buddy?
Ohio State, and they cover.
Yeah, I agree.
They're too good. They are too good for anyone in the Big Ten.
They're there's a tier 1, and that's Ohio State, and then there's nobody in tier 2, in my opinion, for the Big Ten. And then you got Wisconsin, Penn State, and I guess Michigan. But you know what I mean? It's like Ohio State is not. I'm not trying to insult those schools by saying there's no tier 2 because I think they're solid football teams, but there's just so much separation right now, and it's going to be like that for the next 4 or 5 years. Because honestly, the only team recruiting really well consistently is Michigan and Penn State, but their coaches are horrible in my opinion. And then you got little old Purdue, who's been putting together a couple interesting recruiting classes these last couple of years. So that talent is going to become more consistent in a season or two. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on what happens, but Ohio State is just really good. So,
yes.
So that is that. That is all the conference championship games, apparently. So it'll be interesting to see how me and Austin do, especially against the clueless teams. Real quick here, because I've kind of rambled on about football longer than I wanted to. Basketball season, we're 5-3. Is it time to hit the panic button? No, in my opinion. I think we got to slow down here. I think we underestimated. I should have went on the rant on Voice of the Fan Twitter. Me and Austin got to get back into using that more. But I've talked to a lot of different people in the Michigan State basketball community, not like real big people, but just like fans on Twitter, about last night because it was embarrassing. Effort wasn't really there against Duke. We got embarrassed on our home floor. Izzo got out coached. Team got outplayed. Vernon Carey Jr.
He's pretty good.
He is one of the best bigs I've seen in a long time in college, Austin. I mean, we had no answer for him. I didn't really I get Xavier Tillman gets in foul trouble a lot, but I didn't understand barely ever putting him on Carey. Like, just such a weird game plan to me, but that's why I'm not a coach, I guess. But I think we underestimated as a fan base. I think they were ranked number 1 preseason because of what this team can become. I think we really underestimated the loss of Matt McQuaid and Kenny Goins and their timely shooting and the post presence of Nick Ward. I think we really kind of sped up the development in our heads of guys like Gabe Brown, Marcus Bingham, Aaron Henry, Thomas Kithier, all those guys. Yes, you have Cassius and X back, and we returned a lot of talent, but those kids are still sophomores. And they weren't 5-star kids. They were 4-star kids, good basketball players, but it's going to take time for them to develop. So not only do you have that, I mean, obviously you have the adversity of your teammate and leader of the team, Josh Langford, go down again after having a season-ending surgery last year, and that really affected the team last year. That could be affecting them again this year. Joey Hauser not getting eligibility, so that's 2 5-star recruits, former 5-star recruits that aren't in your lineup. That would be. So I think this team's trying to gel. Rocket Watts has been kind of thrown into the wolves, starting at the 2 spot instead of Josh Langford. But I think this team has a lot of potential with guys like Gabe Brown and Marcus Bingham, what they can do. So I don't think it's time to hit the panic button yet, Austin. I trust Tom Izzo. 5-3 is not the ideal start. I think they have to go at worst 7-1 in this 8-game stretch in December, and going into January. I think the toughest team we play is Michigan, but that's at home, so which they've looked impressive. But I think this team's going to be okay. I don't know if they're national title contenders, but I think this team can get it going.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting in the same spot. I don't ever hit the panic button on Michigan State basketball. They just play such a tough schedule.
It's been
all the time to start the year, and I think to start the year is one of the toughest times to play tough,
especially when you have things like Langford going down, and then the whole thing with Cassius Winston's brother hit the team really hard. So, and it's not an excuse. I mean, well, I shouldn't say it that way. The team has a job to do still, but it's clearly, I mean, especially Cassius has played. He didn't play well last night, but he's played well. But you can just tell there's like a fog in front of the team, and they just got to get something going. They got to get past it, and I think they will. Like you said, it's such a tough schedule, especially with all the adversity they've faced so far in this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you just got. I mean, you find yourself, and I think you trust, Izzo to get everyone settled, and I think all those big games can be tough, and you press and you gear up, and you're trying to show that you deserve where you belong, and you get out of what you're good at. And by the time midseason rolls around, Michigan State usually finds who they are and what they're trying to accomplish, and then it's fine. So I would not worry about Michigan State basketball, even sitting at 5-3. I mean, your losses came to Duke, Kentucky, and Kansas.
We lost to Va Tech, which was an upset, but
okay. So Virginia Tech's probably not the greatest one.
They had a freshman
Duke and Kentucky
shoot the lights out from 3. So,
and that's college basketball. Yep. And I mean, it's of the teams that you've played, Duke has lost to Stephen F. Austin, and Kentucky lost to Evansville. So, sure, they've kind of rebounded a little bit, but just kind of keep that in mind. Michigan State's losses. Virginia Tech could very well be ranked by the end of the season. So you're looking at 3 top 25
and
losses.
I think they have a really impressive win, which is being overshadowed in the Seton Hall on the road, where their stud, I forgot his name already somehow, but he went off for 38 points, and you were down 8 with like 3 minutes left or 2.5 minutes left, and you won that game on the road. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll see. The last thing I'll say is the Big Ten, I think, is a lot better than I thought they would be this year in basketball. Michigan looks really good. Ohio State looks really good. I don't know. Did Indiana pull off the win versus Florida State last night?
Oh, yeah. They pulled away big time.
Yeah, they look good. Maryland's good. Purdue had a huge win today. Iowa's solid. This league is a lot better than we thought it would be. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But that's really all I got for tonight. It's good to have Austin back, as great as Chris, or as we go as Cripps was last week, or 2 weeks ago, because we were off for Thanksgiving last week. It's great to have my partner back. We should be keeping this rolling, obviously, throughout the next few weeks until we get to the off season. So we should be here every week for you guys. And Austin, go ahead and take us out, man, unless you have any last thoughts.
No, happy to be back. Glad to be back, and we'll keep this thing rolling as best we can. So, As always, it's good to say it again. I'm Austin, co-host John Emmons. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard tonight, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Voice of the Fan, and also give us a listen on SoundCloud. And if you could, like our page on Facebook at Voice of the Fan and follow us on Twitter at Voice of the Fan PC. Thanks, everyone.